Tempt. Romance audiobooks. A safe place to explore your dreams.
Chapter 1. Marnie. Is that guy checking me out? I feel a prickle of self-consciousness that has everything to do with the fact that I'm wearing an old Star Wars t-shirt I sleep in more often than I should admit, including last night, and that I ignored Andy's not-so-subtle advice to put on some makeup for once. Yeah, no, he's definitely not interested in me. He's gorgeous enough to make angels weep, which means he's staring for the same reason everyone stares at me lately. Nice shirt, Angel Guy says with a nod. Thanks, I reply, gritting my teeth against what I know is coming next. I should probably just walk away, but I really need that drink. I send a desperate glance at the bartender, who's already passed me over twice for women who, unlike me, probably spent more than 2 minutes getting ready. Lo and behold, the bartender notices me. Our gazes meet for an instant. His eyes are the color of the whiskey I'd like to drink. I feel the warmth of his gaze down to my toes. I guess I must really want that drink. The bartender takes a step toward me, which is a promising development. It's you, isn't it? Sinclair Jones's sister, Angel Guy says, pulling my attention away. You look different without... He motions around his head as if to suggest the hours I'd spent being primped and polished on the morning of my wedding. Or, I should say, the morning of what was supposed to be my wedding. Well, you know you look different now, but you're the woman from that meme. Can I buy you a drink? Nope, no can do. I can feel the bartender watching me, taking in the situation, and I flush with embarrassment. You understand. I have important Force-related business. I give him the Star Wars hand signal, then turn and start walking away before he can object, or start snapping pictures. Let's be honest, I know what he really wants, a selfie with the woman who became a meme. God, save me from this looky-loo. I've had more than enough embarrassment to last 3 lifetimes, thank you very much. I don't need to add any more line items to that list. I hear a soft laugh behind me and someone asks, "Isn't that the Vulcan hand gesture from Star Trek?" Whatever. It's my brother's shirt. Drew's a bit of a nerd, obsessed with his space operas. I love him, but he can keep his intergalactic dramas to himself. Why am I wearing his shirt? Because we live together, and he skipped doing his laundry for several weeks in a row. I finally broke down and did it myself, but in retaliation, I stole his most comfortable shirt. When I slide into the booth across from my friends, Andy and Grace, they cut off their conversation so quickly, it's obvious they've been talking about me. Andy eyes my empty hands, and I avoid the urge to cover my bare ring finger. It's the lack of a drink she cares about. I thought the point of getting a drink was to get a drink, she says. I've changed my mind, I say. Maybe I'll do a sober January thing. Grace gives me a dubious look, and fine, she has a point. If ever there were a January to not be sober, it's this one. Or not, I amend. Anyway, aren't we here to talk about the book? You dragged me out tonight on the pretext of having a book club meeting. Did you read the book? Andy asks. No, I admit. Andy shoots a quizzical look at Grace, who develops a sudden interest in the scratched-up tabletop in front of her. A sudden flash of light reflects off her glasses, and I flinch, but then I realize it's a reflection of whatever's on the TV across from her, not a camera. Come on, Andy says. Marnie gets a pass, but you had a whole month. I read Outlander when you asked us to. That was a very long book. There was a lot of sex in it, Grace says with a twinkle in her eyes. Hot Scottish guy sex. Admit you enjoyed it. We all did. Never. Anyway, Grace says, the book is immaterial, says the person who didn't pick it, Andy mutters, sweeping her long black curls over her shoulder. I take part in the conversation, except I honestly don't remember what we were supposed to read. Don't get me wrong, I love reading. I'm just not in the right headspace. Every time a guy in a book does something stupid, I want to hit him over the head with a rolled-up newspaper. Every time a woman trusts someone she shouldn't, I want to... Well, honestly, the newspaper approach still sounds pretty good. It makes reading stressful. We could talk about Outlander, I suggest. I just rewatched the first episode. Grace gives Andy a knowing look. These looks you're giving each other, do they have anything to do with whatever you were talking about when I went up to the bar? I ask. It does not soothe me when Grace slides her glass of white wine across the table to me, and not just because I would have preferred Andy's bourbon. Still, I have a feeling I'm going to need some bolstering so I don't push it back. What did you do? I ask. We're worried about you, Grace says, which isn't an answer. I know they're worried about me. I'm worried about me. You have plenty of reasons for that, I concede. After all, it's not every day a woman is left at the altar. It would have been easier to get over the whole thing if one of our guests hadn't caught it all on tape, including me tripping over the aisle runner and falling flat on my face. It became a viral GIF and a meme, and my image is now all over the internet. Spend 15 minutes poking around and you can find stills of my face registering horror before I run, followed by an image of me after I fell face first on the carpet, accompanied by messages like, "When I remembered Sisters of Sin is releasing today. When you find out he likes pineapple on pizza." Or a personal favorite, "When he realizes your sister is Sinclair Jones and that he was about to settle for second best." Touché. Sometimes people get fancy and include the whole video, or use it as a tongue-in-cheek response to other people's posts online. I write my own takes on the meme when I'm feeling punch-drunk, or particularly sorry for myself. You should sue, Andy says. I sigh. We've been over this. I don't know who got the footage. At this point, I'd have to sue thousands upon thousands of people to get it to go away. It's not worth it. It would make it look like I care. You do care, Grace points out. From the look on her face, she cares too, which I appreciate. The thing is, there's a very good chance that the jerk who recorded that video and released it was someone close to me. Not one of these two, obviously, because I trust them down to my soul, but someone else. That knowledge keeps me up some nights. It doesn't help that your asshole sister keeps talking about it to the press, Andy says. Hey, I say, lifting my hands, feeling a prickle of defensiveness. This isn't her fault. Well, it would help if she'd shut the fuck up. Yes, I admit. It would help. It would also help if she'd stop texting me little uplifting messages, often accompanied by selfies of her perfectly made-up face. Or if she would stop trying to FaceTime me at odd hours, working around the shooting schedule of her show, Sisters of Sin. Or if my sister, who's older by 2 years, weren't playing a character who's 8 years younger than me. Sinclair's pitying looks aren't exactly boosting my self-esteem, is what I'm saying. Yes, my house looks like someone unleashed a pet tornado in it, and I've definitely looked better. But I need a little time to wallow, don't I? Wallowing is normal. Wallowing is healthy. I went to one appointment with a therapist and she told me so, which I took as permission to never go back. I tell my friends as much. I know this whole thing will blow over eventually, I add. I'll be fine. Perfectly fine. They exchange another look, which is frankly annoying, and then Andy points out, It's been 3 months, Marnie. Which pisses me off more. I'm well aware of how long it's been, Andy. I'm the one who designed the invitations. I take a sip of the donated wine. Andy clears her throat. It's just, Chet has been doing some work for Tilton Expeditions. What? I nearly dropped the wine glass. Why didn't you say anything? Tilton Expeditions is Brock's business. Brock being the man who whispered, Sorry, Marnie, I can't go through with this, to me at the altar 3 months ago after making a proposal that was so over the top and frankly embarrassing that people would still be talking about it if they weren't instead talking about the fallout. Chet is Andy's current boyfriend, a position no one has ever held for very long. I think it's because she tends to date men who are hotter than they are smart, but I'm not in a situation to judge or offer advice. Andy tilts her head and gives me a look. Fine, I get why you didn't say anything. Anyway, she says slowly, Brock asked your boss for a meeting next week. He's going to hire your team for a new project, and he specifically said he wants you to be involved. Fuck, I bark out. A blonde woman in the booth next to ours pops her head over the back and gives me a dirty look, like a pissed-off groundhog. Excuse me, I have a child over here, she says fiercely. This is the second time you've spoken a foul word. You should be ashamed of yourself. Maybe you shouldn't have brought your kid to a bar on a Saturday night, lady, Andy says, swiveling her head and looking up. You're lucky we're not having a passion party. The woman huffs, but drops back down into her booth. I'd like to pretend it has something to do with the glare I gave her, but I'm no fool. Andy isn't the kind of person you'd want to pick a fight with. She's muscular and toned, and she's got these I don't take shit from anyone eyes that are so deep brown they're almost black. It's a superpower that's not wasted on her gig as a daycare teacher, regardless of what her parents tell her. Grace smiles at Andy. I smile at Andy. The two of us lack that natural ability to intimidate. If Andy's a predator, then we're more like prey. Give me 15 minutes and a word processor, and I could put together a message that'll really mess up someone's day, or a card that'll make them feel excellent, horrible, or amused. But in real life, it's a bit difficult to excuse yourself for 15 minutes in the middle of a tense moment. Lucky for me and for Grace, we have Andy, the rare bobcat who befriends a couple of bunnies. The thought's almost enough to make me smile. And then I think of Brock hiring Val's visions. Why would he do that? I whisper hiss. Grace does this half-shrug, half-head tilt thing and says, maybe he feels guilty and wants to make sure you're okay. Andy snorts. Or he knows you're the best graphic designer in town and he wants you to do his work for him, while also proving there are no hard feelings so he can stop looking like the bad guy. Sounds like he's about to land a big deal with Edgar James. If I'd had a drink, I would have spat it out. Seriously? Edgar James is a famous survivalist type. He had his own show for a while on the Discovery Channel, and now he runs an extreme camping business with several locations across North Carolina. Brock has always been borderline obsessed with him. A few months back, Edgar nearly drowned on a whitewater rafting trip, and Brock, no joke, spent 5 hours trying to choose an appropriate, sorry you almost drowned gift to send him. They'd only met once, at a conference, so my thoroughly ignored vote was no gift, but apparently sucking up pays off. No, I said it for shits and giggles, Andy deadpans. I guess good things really do happen to bad people, I say with a sigh. My point is that you're going to have to see him and you'll be around other people who'll be watching your every reaction, Andy says. Are you prepared for that? My smile slips, and I can feel my heart pounding too fast in my chest. I mean, I knew it would only be a matter of time before we ran into each other. Asheville's hardly a huge city. I was just hoping it would be more like 4 years, or preferably 10. And that I'd be happily married to some nondescript handsome guy who I could wave in front of myself like a flag. See, you publicly humiliated me, but I did just fine. Sure, I say, pouring an admirable amount of bravado into it, if I do say so myself. I'm not the one who did a fucked up thing. No, but... Grace looks to Andy for help. You don't want him to think he broke you. Ouch, I say, rubbing my chest. Look at yourself, Andy says in that tough love voice I've heard a lot of recently. You've probably been wearing that shirt for 48 hours. 24, I say sullenly. I dress professionally for work. How I dress in my free time should be no one's concern. The only thing I did today, other than this amazing outing, obviously, is visit my aunt. Andy raises her eyebrows as if to say I'm only proving her point. Aunt Helen is awesome. We had a wonderful afternoon. I might be exaggerating slightly, since we spent the morning cleansing crystals and she eventually made me leave because I had, and I quote, dark energy. But what can you do? Grace and Andy are still giving me dubious looks, so I ask, why should I care what Brock thinks of me anyway? You shouldn't, Andy says. But you do. You have a perfectly natural desire to see him suffer. So do I, honestly. Grace leans across the table a little. Yeah, don't you want revenge? She peeks at the booth back behind her and Andy rolls her eyes. That jerk did something unforgivable. Wouldn't it be nice to flaunt how well you're doing without him? She's one to talk. Still, she's not wrong. Yes, I say with a sigh. But as you've both kindly pointed out, I'm not doing well. Truthfully, I don't miss Brock. What I miss is my self-confidence, which has been shattered into a million little pieces that have been tumbled to the consistency of sand. What I miss is the temporary band-aid our relationship, which felt exciting right up until it didn't, spread over my other problems. I told the therapist as much on that one session we had, and she said I had a remarkably mature perspective. See? No reason to go back. We want you to do something about that, Andy says resolutely. Yes, well, I'd also like to not be a loser wearing a dirty shirt standing a TV show I never watch. Movie, Andy says, shaking her head sadly. The Empire Strikes Back is a movie. It's been out for like 40 years. I don't need to feel worse about myself, I mutter, picking idly at my sleeve. Besides, I didn't think this place would be so crowded. Andy chose the bar because that's our deal. The person who selects the book also selects the meeting place. Summer Nights is a bit of a dive, with low lighting and a half-hearted attempt at beachside decor that's not displeasing, but it's an odd choice for a mountain town in North Carolina. Grace, who's apparently voted herself good cop, slides a card across the table to me. I look at it before I speak, mostly because I was expecting a different approach. I figured they'd ask me to go see that therapist again or bribe me to throw away the most offensive items in my wardrobe, many of which have been stolen from Drew. Maybe I'd even let them. I pick up the card, taking a moment to appreciate the design before I absorb what's written on it. The Fairy Godmother Agency? Is this some kind of a joke? But I can't lie. My mind is summoning an image of a pleasantly plump woman in a shimmery dress with a star-tipped wand. She looks a little like somebody's mother, and she has an air of, I'm going to make everything all right. I have a thing for mother figures, I guess. I have to admit, it would be nice to hand my problems over to someone else. This is no joke, Andy says. They help someone I know. Did they make her a pumpkin carriage? Because I don't know where I'd park something like that. Finding street parking gives me hives. No, Andy says, giving me a pointed look. Her husband left her. They helped her get even.
You can listen to the rest of the book in the Tempt Romance audiobooks app, available on the App Store and Google Play. The link to the book is in the description. Discover even more bestsellers and exclusive stories updated weekly, only in Tempt Romance audiobooks.